call the meeting to order. Stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mrs. Bell? Mrs. Seidelman? Present. Mr. Rush?
Present.
Mr. Jarrett?
Here.
Mrs. Markle? Present. Mr. Rittenhouse?
Present.
Mr. Scott? Mrs. Thompson? Here. Mrs. Albright?
Thank you, Mrs. Albright. And we have superintendent's reports.
Yes, just one item. I'm extremely excited to announce that after a very long road, we have successfully implemented the GPS functionality of Stop Finder. So there was a message that went out on April 5th, and for any parents that are interested, you are now able to have that geo alert. So when students fall within whatever geo field you put in there, you receive those notifications and can see where everything is, and we're very excited about that. So, yeah, that is all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Fuller. Moving down to agenda edits, item 1E1. I would like to get a motion to approve the following agenda edit to remove from the voting meeting agenda item 3A9, a motion to approve the classroom lease agreement with Berks County Intermediate Unit for one classroom operating pre-KES in the BBA Primary Center effective July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025. Can I get a motion for that? And second.
Quick question on this, does that mean that it's not happening, or we're just suggesting?
That's a great question. Upon legal review, it was set up as a lease, and the request is to actually change it to a license. Essentially, just different legal terms, but we're still moving forward with it. It will be in the May, but designed with a license agreement instead of a lease agreement.
Thank you.
Yes, well,
Good question. All right, so let's leave the second of thing.
I'll second.
Okay. So can I get a vote, please?
Mrs. Seidelman? Yes. Mr. Rush?
yes.
Mr. Jarrett?
Yes.
Mrs. Markle? Yes. Mr. Rittenhouse?
Yes.
Mr. Scott? Mrs. Thompson? Yes. Mrs. Albright, yes. Mrs. Bell?
Yes.
Mrs. Albright. All right, procedures for public participation. Prepared statements that are read to the board shall have a copy presented to the board president prior to being addressed. Comments on agenda items will be made by rising and approaching the microphone, stating your name and address, and signing in the sheet provided. You will be granted up to 3 minutes to address the board. Your 3-minute time limit will start when you begin to speak. If 3 minutes are over, you will be asked to be seated. Any item that is not on the agenda, as well as agenda items acted upon, comments will be made in the designated section at the end of the agenda. Do we have any presentations by the public on any agenda items?
Rich Martino, 225 West Lost Drive, Douglasville. A couple of quick questions on the HVAC project. One, how many bids were solicited? Two, how many bids were received? And three, what was the date of the train bid? Sure, repeat that? I think might be good for everybody. Okay. On the HVAC project, I asked how many bids were solicited, how many bids were received, and what was the date of the trade bid?
Rich, I don't have the date of the training bid right here in front of me right now. I can get that to you tomorrow morning. What I can tell you is train is CoStars. They are also our system that we currently use throughout the district, which affects our controls, which is very important in terms of managing the HVAC system itself. It is also a situation, this is an urgent repair, which needs to be done. CoStars, just so you know, is a state-approved vendor, which allows us to go forward with them as a result of that. And certainly anyone else, Brian, you can add to that if you.
Yeah, I would just clarify, it's Omnia, which is another cooperative purchasing arrangement, which is satisfies the big laws in Pennsylvania, but it's the Omnia cooperative purchasing process that was used.
We didn't have to solicit bids.
No, because it was done through this cooperative purchasing network, so they went out to bids, they received competitive bids, they qualified the bidders, and then those bidders are available for local procurement units to contract with.
And Rob, the reason I asked the date is starting in February, we were talking about anticipating $4 million for HVAC replacement, and the bid just happened to be 3.95, just under the 4. It just raised the question in my mind.
No problem. Fair question.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any presentations on agenda items that we need to do? All right, seeing none. Under announcements, there will be an executive session after tonight's meeting to discuss safety and security and litigation. All right, under consent items, action list 3A1 through 3A13, excluding the aforementioned item 3A9. Is there anyone on the board has any questions or concerns about anything under the consent items listed under 3A1 through 3A13? Then I get a motion. And a second.
Second.
And can I get a vote?
Mr. Rush,
Yes.
Mr. Jarrett,
Yes.
Mrs. Marple. Yes. Mr. Rittenhouse,
Yes.
Mr. Scott, Mrs. Thompson. Yes. Mrs. Albright, yes. Mrs. Bell,
Yes.
Mrs. Edelman. Yes.
Thank you, Mrs. Albright. Under personnel consent items, item 4A1 through 4A3. Any questions or concerns from the board about those items? Can I get a motion for that?
I'll motion.
And a second?
Thank you, Steve Harvey. You know what, on my glasses, I just keep going. I'll second. Yeah, I got it. Mr. Jarrett,
Yes.
Mrs. Marple. Yes. Mr. Rittenhouse,
Yes.
Mr. Scott. Mrs. Thompson. Yes. Mrs. Albright, yes. Mrs. Bell.
Yes.
Mrs. Edelman. Yes. And Mr. Brush.
Yes.
Mrs. Albright. Under finance out of consent items, items 5A1 through 5A5. Any questions or comments about those items?
I have two questions.
Yeah.
This is in regard to the train contract. On page 3, there's a portion about certain insurance. Will we have to get additional insurance for the contract, or do we have a general insurance policy to issue a certificate of insurance?
The certificate of insurance requirements in the contract are are for training, not for us. So we would maintain our typical insurances, but the contract imposes on training certain insurance requirements.
Okay, okay. And then my second question, if that contract is, there was a portion, it was on page 7, Article 7. And my question is, what are the chances that the high school has asbestos, since this is an older building? Like, part of the contract said that we would have to pay additional if they found asbestos and they cleaned it up.
Can't answer the question about the likelihood of asbestos, but nothing was revealed in any of the pre-project inspections, and that imposition, that type of language is typical in any school construction project, that if asbestos and other hazardous material was discovered during the construction process, we would be responsible to remediate that.
Thank you.
What was the high school though? Was the high school, was it?
I do not know the year, but it's
Someone on Facebook is posting pictures from like the 70s, so.
A long time ago.
Yeah, I don't know how long, but at least it's 60.
What I will say is there was an addition put on at the high school, and this predates me here also. The high school used to be about half the size, and they added an additional one to this high school. Most of the additions on the second floor, I believe, over here.
Well, when was the last time the HVAC was either installed or replaced? I mean, I guess they would have had to have found it, anything like that then, right?
I think the odds are better that there's no asbestos than there is,
Okay.
actually. But I mean, there's no guarantee, you have no way of knowing that, so,
Okay.
yep. Good question.
Yeah.
What's that?
Big 50s, right?
Yeah, I would say so, something like that.
Asbestos use was limited in the 70s. I think, obviously.
And I wouldn't think they would have found it in the last meeting when they built the additions, that there were some significant issues in regards to that. But I could be wrong on that.
good year. Glad to hear them. Okay, no other questions? Can I get a motion to accept?
Question on the Halter contract. It looks like they're adding 3 additional people to the service for $600,000 a year. Have you seen the counter of just hiring 3 people in-house or something? Has there been a secondary plan to this contract at all?
Another very fair question. First, before I answer that question, I want to thank Walters for coming back to the negotiation table with us. They were able to save what our business office is projecting about $80,000 for the school district. So I want to thank them for that. We are under contract with Walters until the end of next school year. At that point in time, like we did before, what we'll do is we'll reassess in terms of whether it's more economical for us to hire in-house or continue to outsource that. But we were under contract either way. This saves us from their willing to attend the current contract. So that's a great question. So we will definitely revisit that when we get closer. Good question.
In lieu of that, I know I mentioned, and it was also discussed before, possibly utilizing BCTC for any future landscaping efforts to participate in that. Has there been any further conversation around that?
Nothing further. At the time, I had a conversation with their executive director, and he said it would be something that would be interesting and to be willing to consider and look into. But there's been no further action at this time. Right now, I don't think that they're set up for that. But I think that might be something when we start projecting 50+ years down the road, that maybe we can start partnering with them on, but not an immediate solution.
Anything else? Then can I get a motion for items 5 and 55?
Motion.
Okay. And a second? All right. Mr. Scott?
Thank you. Mrs. Albright?
Mrs. Bell?
Yes.
Mrs. Beckman?
Yes.
Mr. Gretsch?
Yes.
Mr. Jarrett?
Yes.
Mrs. Margot?
Yes.
Mr. Rittenhouse?
Yes.
Mr. Scott, yes. Mrs. Thompson?
Yes.
9 yeses.
Under programs, added consent items. Items 681 through 683. Do I have any questions or concerns about those items? Hearing none, can I get a motion? And a second?
Thank you.
Second.
Okay, 1 second. I thought you said you were
Sorry, that's fine.
sorry.
All right, you're ready, Mrs. Chairman.
Yep. Mrs. Albright?
Yes.
Mrs. Bell?
Yes.
Gotta be nicer on the phone. All right, Mrs. Beckman?
Yes.
Mr. Gretsch?
Yes.
Mr. Jarrett?
Yes.
Mrs. Margot?
Yes.
Mr. Rittenhouse?
Yes.
Mr. Scott, yes. Mrs. Thompson?
Yes.
Sorry about that. Thank you, Mr. Scott. Under personnel, added consent items. Items 781 through 783. Any questions or comments about those? Any other motion for those? Anybody else want to return besides the usual suspects?
I'll motion.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay. And it is.
Mrs. Albright? Mrs. Bell?
Yes.
Mrs. Beckman?
Yes.
Mr. Gretsch?
Yes.
Mr. Jarrett?
Yes.
Mrs. Margot?
Yes.
Mr. Rittenhouse?
Yes.
Mr. Scott, yes. Mrs. Thompson?
Yes.
9 yeses.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. Under old business, item 881. Any questions of minutes? No. Can I get a motion?
I'll motion.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Mrs. Albright? Mrs. Bell?
Yes.
Mrs. Beckman?
Yes.
Mr. Gretsch?
Yes.
Mrs. Jarrett?
Yes.
Mrs. Margot?
Yes.
Mr. Rittenhouse?
Yes.
Mr. Scott, yes. And Mrs. Thompson?
Yes.
All right, thank you, Mr. Scott. Under new business, item 981. Turn this over to Mr. Wilbur.
Thank you very much. So, presented on the side, I'm just going to kind of talk through. At this point, we've had 3 budget workshops and then a budget summary. This is just one more version of kind of walking through our budget, identifying where we stand. I do have a recommendation I'd like to propose to the board. But at that point, it's time for us to have a very difficult conversation about what the future finances are for the district. So without further ado, I'm going to kick this off. As we all know at this point, we really started our first budget workshop ending at a $3.2 million deficit. We've done tremendous work since then, and again, I cannot thank the board enough for their collaboration through this process. At the end of the second budget workshop, we were a little over $500,000 worth of a deficit. And then at the end of the third, plus a little bit of a follow-up, we ended up with this $190,000 deficit for our general fund. So you can see that's the process that we worked through. Our current general fund deficit is $190,000. $190,000, which again sounds like a lot, it is a lot, but again, we're talking about millions of dollars as far as our district's budget. That is tremendous from where we started. We're still not talking about the final budget. What we're trying to do is position ourselves for a preliminary budget, which is really what we're looking to propose on May 6th. So we're having our final conversation so we can give direction to our business office so they can develop the final version of the preliminary budget, which again is still not the final budget. These numbers we know pretty well. Outside the general fund, we have our fund balance, which is about $8.3 million, and then we have our capital fund budget, which is sitting a little bit over $6 million. The challenge that we have as a school district is that we have $9 million worth of immediate work that must be done. This doesn't talk about all of those other odds and ends. We're really just talking about the big two, which is the roof and the HVAC projects. Realistic numbers that we have for both of those, we're looking at a roof of about $5 million and HVAC work, which is about $4 million. So when you take a look at where we actually stand, we're looking at a general fund of $190,000 in deficit, capital fund, the $9 million worth of projects and the $6 million worth of funds leaves us with a $3 million deficit. Obviously, those numbers combined together, we're looking at about a $3.2 million deficit. My recommendation to the board is to transfer $1 million from our fund balance into capital fund. So I want to be very specific about what that would look like. Again, right now, we're at an $8.3 million balance within fund balance. We already have built into our budget $600,000 that we're using to close the general fund budget. That number is in our budget already. So that means we actually have $7.7 million in our fund balance. If we bring $1 million over to put towards our capital projects, that drops our remaining fund balance down to $6.7 million. Again, my recommendation is not to dip beneath that $6 million in fund balance. That would negatively hurt our credit, as well as what I'm hearing from our state legislators is that they are not expecting a smooth budget process once again. So the anticipation is that we will see delays in months before we start receiving our revenue from the state. So during that time, we have to draw down on our savings. So last time we got pretty close, and dipping beneath $6 million, we'd be very close once again. We don't want to have to borrow money to make payroll, because then we're essentially wasting money for what should be something that should be coming to us in a more timely fashion. This would put our total capital fund down to a $2 million deficit, while still we have that $190,000. So just to clean up the numbers a little bit, we're talking about a general fund deficit of $190,000, a capital fund deficit of $2 million. So now we're really talking about an overall deficit of about $2.2 million. And our budget is designed right now with a 2.3% tax increase. That's where we are, that's what the budget has been designed with. Even if we said, okay, and I want to make sure I preface this with this is not the recommendation, I'm not recommending this, but even if we increase our taxes the highest we could to the Act 1 index at that 5.3%, that would generate us an additional $1.1 million, which still leaves us with $1 million worth of a deficit, increasing taxes to the max. Again, we all understand the weight of the decisions that we're about to discuss. We do not believe that doing a 5.3 would be fair to our community, who is also experiencing the same financial challenges that we have been experiencing as a district. Just to provide a little bit of history into what has happened up to this point, since 2020, we have been averaging a tax increase of 0.76%. That has been our average during those years. During that same time, since 2020, the inflation rate for the United States is approximately 4.6% per year. So just taking a look at that basic math, we have been trying to hold the line while also understanding that inflation is occurring all around us and impacting us. Those decisions have been made by the school board to try to protect our community the most that we possibly can. We cannot continue down that model forever, though. So that's where we are right now. As you can see, we're in the hole and we're continuing to go in the hole. But again, we still do have that responsibility to our community. So at this point, I share that our budget right now is a $2.2 million deficit with a 2.3% tax increase.
Thank you, Mr. Walden. So we're going to open it up for discussion, folks. Again, we're talking about to get these two projects done, basically right now, the capital fund. Unless we're going to borrow money, we're already 12 years down the road with our debt structure. So I don't know that anybody wants to borrow more money at today's interest rates. But these projects, as we all know from the conversations we've been having since January, are things that are going to need to get done. So you're talking about wiping out the capital fund, and then you're going to have to borrow money from the general fund. And as Mr. Volker is pointing out, when we get down below that $6 million, we're going to start impacting our credit rating. Something else that I think is a good thing for the district. So, since we've all been attending these budget workshops, we've all been listening to different conversations, right? What does anyone feel is a place where we can generate the revenue that we're going to need to start rebuilding the fund while we're paying off, we're paying for these projects? We can't keep operating from a deficit. We were talking about this before, we can't be deficit setting. So, where do we think we'd like to be? Do I hear any proposals about? So, in order to cover these projects, some things this year, we will have to borrow anyway. We'll have the funds. If you don't want to go below $6 million fund balance, there is going to have to be borrowed. Is am I correct? We haven't proposed to improve yet, but if we were in this next budget, then we don't have enough money to cover that.
That is correct. Currently, the model that we would have to implement would have to be to utilize more fund balance, drawing us down beneath the $6 million number. That's really our only way to get these projects done at this point in time.
Right. How quickly would you prefer to rebuild the fund? Or not even know what you're having? How quickly would you prefer to rebuild your capital funds since they're going to fall down to zero?
Well, I guess it depends on the rate, but I would like to get that money back in.
As quickly as possible.
Yeah, as quickly.
So what's the next, after these two emergency projects, what's the next thing on the horizon on the capital for? What are you gonna need money for next?
So, according to the facility study, I have to review one more time, but I believe that we also have this high school is next on that rotation. Actually, the high school roof was supposed to be this year.
But that's what I'm saying, so
yeah.
you're gonna have to get it sooner rather than later.
And I believe the middle school roof was supposed to be last year. And we're dealing with leaks now. We have some issues. Right now, we're not experiencing issues here, we are experiencing issues at the middle school.
Right, so you were talking about borrowing money just to do this. But if there's a project that happens, well, if we wait out this long, we'd still be borrowing money to get the other.
The middle school was just recently done, right?
The middle school roof,
Yes.
no, it's not.
Just patched it.
They did do some patchwork.
There's been lots of little repairs because it's been leaking for a while. We've been keeping it going for as long as we can.
The middle school was
2005,
You're 19 years right now in middle school.
I know the age that, I don't think you correct.
I mean, we have three children, so around the same time. The high school had an addition around the same time. So the sports, everything's saying along around the same time.
They do have different type of structures, materials. So the asphalt shingle has a different anticipated than the flat top. I'm not going to answer whatever that material is.
Like tar or whatever.
Yes, yeah. There are different lifespans for the materials that we have.
And steel roof for us.
Yeah. And what we're looking to replace the middle school roof with is the lesser of the options. So the two main options that were investigated, one was the metal, which has a longer lifespan, but $6 million, versus the asphalt shingle, which is a $5 million number.
Those are really different.
Correct.
What's the span difference?
Years of coverage.
I believe it's about 10, 20 years, but I gotta check with Jay on that one, guys. I'll look at that.
At this point, we can't afford either.
Yeah.
And for teaching situations where there are more paid districts.
For teachers, no, we're competitive with our professional staff.
For subs.
Subs were the lowest in the county, which we're looking to address as part of this budget.
So again, going to the max, we only net you half of what you need out of the test. Right? So, and we already know the middle school roof needs some test now. The middle school roof needs in place. It's already leaking. It's a terrible burden to place on the district. I think you're gonna have to borrow in order to fund that project. Yeah, to borrow is one of the things. Yes. Either or. Yes. Right. It's just how much you can borrow. So. If we, I don't even know what that would look like with the current, I don't even know what the current planning is. That's really, I mean, that really is going to be the determining factor here, isn't it? Is how much you want to borrow for this roof project. That's going to determine how much you're going to increase taxes by. So. Right? Right. But I think we were talking, so now we're kind of like ran around because we weren't talking about borrowing money because we didn't want to expand. Going out more than 12 years and a half. Yeah, I get that. I just don't see where, I don't see that money, where you're going to get that money from. Well, again, you could not borrow it. And you have to take it out of the reserve. Out of the fund balance. Yeah, just saying, we just, said we don't want to go to 6 million, because it affects our credit, correct? Right. Is that huge detriment?
Does that affect our current loans if the credit's more
That's
cheaper?
a great question. Yeah.
I don't think it would.
Or are they set for whatever they are already?
Yeah, it would be smart.
Whatever's been set, however, wherever it is percent on, like another grad scale, anybody that we do business with as far as vendors go, will be alerted that our credit score is changing, our rating index, and all the things that they measure our risk under has been impacted.
So doesn't that also include like that delivery issue? So if we take one more
That's
day.
correct, yeah, that's correct. So if our debt is increased, that will increase any increase, like low impact, high impact, and that will also increase our credit. So it's raising a red flag to vendors across the board that we currently work with. And I'm going to say on credit.
So either one of those could be a negative impact.
While I would, I'd not like to see either of those options come about, if I had to choose between borrowing more money, taking this out more than 12 years, or dipping below 6 million temporarily until we can rebuild it, I would recommend to the board that we borrow from our fund balance before we take another one out.
Have you ever had anybody sponsor like a repair, like a roof, something like a company? Have you ever had anybody do that, hold fundraisers to kind of offset some of the costs that would take? I know we're going to break that down into years, right? Like payment, however much way that they're going back, or pay to them in installments. Is that how it's set up?
It depends how we end up negotiating terms.
Good project costs.
How much of this $67 billion budget is debt that we have to pay off?
I can actually, that might take me 30 seconds.
Okay. I would also like a breakdown of the $67 billion budget, just kind of get into the weeds of why the budget is the way it is. But to address any concerns here, right, there are options. I mean like an actual itemized breakout of what each, we've got like a pivot table of the groups.
Actually, every department brings in their budget.
Yeah, I just want to look at like the details, so maybe we can find an opportunity somewhere to further reduce that budget.
So the overall debt service that we have is approximately, give or take, it varies slightly each year, at about $6 million. That's what we have.
And that's what we're financing over 12 years.
Correct.
How many years do we have left for that?
2036, 12 years left, 2036 is when it falls off.
And what's the debt service one?
What are the loans for?
Yeah, well, not what they were using, but it's the payments that were making.
Total is about $6 million annually.
Oh, that's not the loan amount. That's the,
Correct, that's the payment amount.
that's the payment.
Yes.
6 million annually.
Yes.
Do you have any interest percentage on that?
You guys are digging in here.
Sorry. We're talking back.
Yeah, no, I do not have the interest. I find this chart. So, I apologize, I'm not giving you guys what it is you were looking for. My goal is through the budget workshop to be like, we talked that profile.
Yeah, we have.
Yeah.
And you guys really, I mean,
And that was,
I'm sure we
it
can get
was
that.
on the administration, they brought all their numbers.
Yeah, I'm sure we could get, maybe you can get that for Chris or whatever, but I feel like we're all, I don't want to be the bad guy in the room, but the reality is we have to talk about taxes. I feel like we just kind of, I'm not speaking out of turn, I get it, we gotta talk about, but I would think if we take a loan out, we're gonna take a hit, right, 12 years or something like that. If our credit goes down, we're gonna, in another way, we're gonna take a hit with our numbers, right? I mean, obviously, if our credit goes down, we're gonna be paying more interest and such.
Well, the idea is we're based on like the tax rate to interject, that should be covering any interest that we're paying so that it decreases our debt profile. Because right now we're in a 2.2 million deficit. So if you're offsetting any interest, I'm trying to get an idea of the interest that will give you a better idea of the actual percentage rate, because we're discussing tax. At least that's what I was asking.
I give you that answer.
So to make sure I understand the question, you're curious about the percent of interest if we were to take like the one for the roof. So a
Do
loan
you have a guess?
on $5 million,
So the roof will cost $5 million.
the roof will cost $5 million, yes.
And that's in a high school,
Hello.
for middle school and high school.
For the middle school, just the middle school. I do not have a number on the high school roof.
And the middle school one is from the city.
That is the one that's leaking, correct?
That's the one you've been patching.
Correct. Correct.
Around the corners, those things.
I don't have a location.
And I still did
The
that.
middle school has those, things called the skylight. Yeah. And they.
But you didn't have to finance the whole thing. But you still have fund balance available after the HVAC. So you're not financing the full $5 million.
Correct.
Right. My concern is that you cannot, even going to the max and active interest, you still cannot cover this deficit.
Correct, there would still be $1 million left.
Yes, if you're doing this roof, you're still having to, you're either gonna have to borrow or draw down on the fund balance. That's it. I mean, there's no other way the money's coming from.
Right. And my preference, but.
So that's the thing. We don't wanna take on more debt. We don't wanna draw the fund balance down to $6 million, and we don't wanna go to 5.2%. Wow.
So
One of those things is gonna have to happen.
would be, and that's like to say, like, related to your needs, like, I don't see the cavalry where to go. So like, I get it, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
I don't wanna take on more debt, right? I prefer to draw down from the fund. This is just me.
So yes, that's the question, right? What is the board's preference on this? And I think I agree with you. I think using the fund balance is going to have to be the choice and take the hit on the credit rate.
Right, because especially right now, with all the, how insane the interest rates are.
Yes.
Possibly in 3 years, God help us, it might be a little better if we did need to borrow in the future. And now is not a great time to be borrowing money at all.
Yeah,
Or buying a
I would
house
rather
or
borrow
food.
from the fund balance, and then, yeah.
And then worry about borrowing in the future.
Yeah, that's what I would say.
So how much do you want to draw down the fund balance? That will tell you how much we are going to have to increase.
I think we're gonna have to, I mean, in total, I think we're gonna have to take it down to 75.
I would cover.
Would be in fund balance. I'm thinking you're still looking at a 2-1 deficit. So I think you're still gonna have to pull from fund balance to cover everything.
And that would cover both projects. So then how quickly do we want to replenish these funds?
So this is my thought. If you were doing a 3.75 increase, you generate about $500,000 a year, right? It would take you roughly 14 years to implement. To replenish what we're talking about.
So you can think about it as being
6 and 3 is 9, right? 9 million to replenish 9 million. It would take us, if we banked every dime of $500,000, so you're talking one. Because yeah. Just to replenish.
We're also looking for other revenue.
Yes.
Well, yeah, but I don't wanna, yeah, right, and if that happens, that's great, we can quicker, we can do, but, you know, there's a lot of moving parts here, so I don't wanna work the balance or pay for capital improvements, and I hope if it comes in, great, but to fund it now, again, we don't like when the school year, I feel like I don't know the school year with HVAC, right? I don't want to go into the school year with, you know, a potential huge snowfall, even though we can dodge the bullet. but I think these things just have to be done. And I think the way to do it is to eliminate the capital fund, borrow what we need from the general fund to cover the shortfall. And I look at these numbers that are related to the ones that was just started these budget workshops and getting into these presentations, and I think we got to sit somewhere around 375. That's my thoughts.
So you're saying that we would change the fund balance down to $5 million?
To pay off, it would actually go to about 4.5. So we're at, with the plan that I actually do that. So to take our fund balance down to this 6.7 balance, but then still close the 2.2, we essentially would be drawing down our fund balance to $4.5 million. So 4.5 is where the fund balance would be to fund the projects that we need that are at the critical level at this point. And then we have to make sure that we work to rebuild. Yes. Because that's the challenging part.
Yeah. This is why these accounts are here. This is what they're used for. We just have to make sure we send the money to rebuild it. Right. They're there again when you reach it. I see it. I agree.
I mean, even if we didn't hit our target, so there's something dire that we would be like, room for anything, for any reason. Like refinancing or anything, that would probably impact, right, wouldn't it, refinancing of any kind of loans, like that was kind of like happening, like discussion.
I would anticipate that the administration is going to be extremely creative moving forward as to how we're massage the money to maximize, just like Christian did, getting that loan refinanced without, increasing our terms, being able to claw some money back out of that. I mean, I think the administration has been very, very diligent in doing their homework to try and be creative and get things figured out. I mean, that's why I thought these budget workshops were so incredibly important to the community, because it's something that we weren't doing. The transparency really provides the community. So,
As long as we have, and we will, with a plan, as long as we have the ability to meet our bills, our obligations, I mean, okay, yes, we don't have, $8 million in the bank, but we're still paying bills, so it's not like, our credit will get out bid, but, and I don't really know all of the ins and outs about our actually going on, but
I'd rather just be kind of my credit than to have a loan. I'd rather have a district take a hit on credit borrowing money ourselves.
right, then, it's
Because we're, like, just looking at our average tuition schedule, like, even just like an interest rate of like 10%. It's horrible. It's terrible,
and hopefully if there's a similar cycle here, we'll see something better in a little bit. I think I asked Tom the question before about the TIF. I mean, where it's generating meaningful revenue for the district, it's probably like minimum 4 years in before it's generating solid revenue. So we just need to keep hammering away at this thing so we can get more revenue. Again, we don't make widgets. We can't increase our supply of widgets, our production of widgets. We can't charge more for our widgets. It's not what we do. So
I brought up an amortization deal of $5 million, and I was generous 10% for 12 years, and the monthly payment was $60,000.
yeah.
And I think we spoke earlier about the difference between hope and plan, right? So making sure that we have a strategy in place to address some of this, while at the same time also being extremely aggressive in pursuit of other revenue streams. So I believe right now Mr. Earth is working on about 7 different grants. And we're actively pursuing partnerships with local businesses. All of those are possibilities for us as we're working with the Virtual Academy to stop some of the expenses that we're paying while we're working with the TIF to try to get that development in. There's talk with River. Yeah, and there's talk of other developments going in. While right now it's talk, there are significant chances that these things are going to be happening. So, while does it make me uncomfortable to go to 4 or 5 with my fund balance? Sure. But I agree, it's the lesser of the evils to help support our district as we move forward. We just all have to understand that the goal is to replenish that fund balance. So it's important for us to realize that that almost needs to be a separate line item in subsequent years to try and put money back towards refilling.
Right, it's going to have to be a concentrated, dedicated effort to do that. I mean, it's not like something that we'll just say, oh, we're going to try to do blah, blah, blah. It has to happen. We have to resupply that fund. So, I'm good that because of the events, I think we can do that. So we have a good team at the administration that's very focused on getting the district on solid, sound financial footing. I think we're able to do that. So, my 2 cents is better than a swift. We should drain that capital fund or we can from the general and there's the 3.75 tax increase. So I don't think it's all over.
So my next step would be connected with Mr. Levin in development of the preliminary budget. It seems as though we're about at 3.75. Again, it's not the final budget, but that seems to be the number that we'd be moving forward with to develop that budget.
Yes. Any other comments from the board? Questions? Presentation by the public on issues.
Artigo 225 West Rush. So this real quickly before I get into what I handed Mr. Jurick, to answer Mr. Gresh's question, I think if you agree the budget line by line, I don't believe it's a bare bones budget. I think it can be reduced. Second thing is, I keep hearing that if we go below $6 million, we're going to lose our credit rating. The Pennsylvania State Business Officers Association always recommended 5% of fund balance. You're at 10. And you're talking, sitting on over $7 million of our money, speaking as a taxpayer, they want to raise our taxes more. So, at the May 6th meeting, I'll come up with, I think it could be reduced. I also would like to see where it says below $6 million affects your credit rating. I don't believe it does anywhere. But I just handed Mr. Jurick this press release from the governor's office that says today's announcement means an additional $150 million will be available per year for each of the next 5 years to help cut taxes, and lower costs for Pennsylvanians. And of accordance with Act 1 of 2006, school districts are required to pass 100% of this funding on to the taxpayers. So, years ago, it was pretty well thought that like Macy's and other companies would raise the price of something $10 and put it on sale for $5. Now, you can't say you're going to raise 3.75 and then say, oh, no, we're only going to go to 3.5. So, I'd like to hear on May 6th what we're doing to try to reduce the budget. I'd like to hear where it says we can't go below $6 million without affecting our credit rating, especially since it's a lot of money, $6 million, if we've already repaired the roof and stuff. And I'd like to know how you're going to reduce your taxes with this money, because the money's going to be known for each school district on May 1st. So, and I have one last question. What is the Act 1 index for Daily Boone for this year?
No, it's for Danny Boone adjusted, it's 7%.
You can raise 7%?
The Danny Boone adjusted, if we chose to go above the Act 1 and go to Danny Boone adjusted, it can go up to 7.
I thought you were already announced that you weren't going to go above.
We're not going above the 5.3, correct?
Okay. So you can go to 5.3.
Correct, and again, with the exception, we would easily go above, but I don't think that's really what any of us are trying to do.
All right. See you May 6th.
Thank you, Rich. Anyone else have any other presentation? Gotcha.
So the funds that are sitting in the fund balance, is that interest? Is that, so it's not like just it's months in there,
Correct, it is accruing use.
And I think to the one thing you were saying, Rich, about the credit rating, I think everybody's kind of in agreement that, I'm not sure where it says that if it drops below 6, that would go back. I think that's just a generally accepted principle, but I think it's a moot point, because we've already kind of acknowledged that we would be willing to take the hit, even if there was going to be a hit in the credit rating, because it's taking the hit.
But you want to build it back up to 6?
Well, we'd like to target that. I mean, Rich, when I in my business, I had 6 months of expenses in my bank account at all times. And if they went below, I did everything I could to build it back up. Because I was signing the front of the check. So I had to make sure that all my bills were paid, all my people got paid. There was no ifs, ands, or buts back that had to get done. So I just think that it's responsible, it's fiscally responsible. So make sure that there's a level of money here that the district can fill back.
And then just if you have all these expenses too, that we need that money for, and if we didn't have that fund balance, we'd be in bigger trouble.
Just never know what's going to come down the pipe. Trying to make sure we're in a fiscally sound place moving forward. When I'm dead and gone, I want to say, that is a big man really hamstrings. Trying to make sure that we're in a good place moving forward for the kids in the district, for future generations. So when Kristen's kid is or, Val's kid, or, whoever, Kristen's kids, Richard's kids, get old. I don't have to go over the fight, but it's
We want them to get a quality education as well. We don't want them to stay in schools that are crumbling and need a ton of work and
flexible